Welcome back, everyone. It is now time for SciBase and CEO Simon Grant to enter the stage. A warm welcome, Simon.
Thank you. SciBase is based here in Stockholm, and we're a pioneer within the area of AI, and one of the first companies to release an AI-based product. And lots of companies talk about AI. We're a company that actually has a product. It's out in the market, over 120,000 patients tested with that product, and we're on our second generation. And we use a unique combination of something called EIS, which I'll explain, and also AI to help dermatologists understand skin conditions. We're a commercial stage company. We're past that level of regulatory risk, technical risk, and clinical risk. And as I say, we're a commercial company with about 400 clinics around the world. So what do we do? What kind of problem do we solve? Well, dermatologists work with lesions, with moles, and they try every day to determine whether something is dangerous or not, whether it's skin cancer or not. And there are two kinds of skin cancer, melanoma and non-melanoma skin cancer. And it's very important that you can detect melanoma and you detect it early. Unfortunately, it's a very subjective process today, and dermatology is one of the few areas that doesn't have a lot of technology in it. And so there's really a need, because melanomas are missed, and also because there's a huge over-treatment over-biopsying of melanomas, of lesions. When we're unsure, there's a real need to have an objective tool. So we help clinicians make this decision. And in this case, the decision was which one was benign and which one was melanoma. And it's very difficult to tell. I mean, it's hard. And so what we do is we provide a tool that allows clinicians to make better decisions. And that helps them find melanomas earlier, find melanomas they would otherwise have missed, and also do that more accurately. And our goal as a company is to be the standard of care, especially within the early detection of skin cancer, and the standard of care in the evaluation of atypical lesions. So what is this electrical impedance spectroscopy? This is the basis for our technology. Well, we use an electrode, and we press this electrode against the lesion or the skin. And when we do that, we send signals under the surface of the skin. And as those signals change, they tell us about the structure underneath the electrode. And that structure, those changes in those signals, with the help of our AI classifier, they help detect melanoma or changes in skin barrier or non-melanoma skin cancer. And we give the clinician a risk score. So the clinician doesn't need to interpret the signals, they get a score, and they can, as a result, they can make better decisions. So I think Matt Levitt is the founder of an enormous practice group in the US called ADCS, and with over 150 clinics. And Matt, I think, summed it up well when he said, what clinicians need help with is to be able to detect melanoma, and especially detect it early. And this will improve survival, and will be an aid for both clinicians and patients. As I said, Matt is really a pioneer within dermatology in the US, and Matt joined the board of SciBase this year, and also is an investor in SciBase. I'd just take a step back and run a little bit through the investment case. We're at a point as a company where there are triggers, there's some near-term triggers. One of them is, and I think probably the most important, is reimbursement in the US. So we are active in the US, and we have been focusing on Florida and the Northeast. And where we are today is that we have submitted an application for approval to Medicare in Florida, or Medicare's representative called First Coast, and we're working with them. We've heard back from them, and they're covering the procedure, but we're working with them to set the right level there. So this is a very important trigger for us, and that's a process that we go through now, especially over the next quarter. The other trigger we see in the near term is non-melanoma skin cancer. So our first product was for melanoma. The second product is for non-melanoma skin cancer, and that was released earlier this year. And we see that as a driver for sales and for new customers. I think if you look at the company, I mean, we are growing, and we're quite confident that we will continue to grow. And I think that's obviously important for us. We also have broken even now in Germany as our main market on a local basis, and that allows us to focus our investments on the US and our new applications. We do have a competitor in the US, a molecular assay from a company called DermTech. And I'm going to talk a little bit about DermTech later on, because I think it gives us some good feedback or a frame of reference that we can look at in terms of what the importance of reimbursement is going forward. And I'll talk about that later. The commercial strategy for the company, we have this platform, EIS plus AI. And this is our platform. This is a proprietary platform. And what we do is we apply this EIS technology with our electrodes and our systems, and we use that together with different algorithms, so that we started with melanoma, a new AI algorithm, a new algorithm for non-melanoma skin cancer, and for skin barrier. So we have this platform that we are able to take and apply to multiple areas. And clearly for us, the commercial strategy is based on the US and achieving good growth in the US going forward. I want to take a step back and talk a little bit about detection of melanoma and why it's difficult. Well, one of the things that we've focused on as a company is the detection of early detection of melanoma. I mean, if someone comes in the door and they have a stage 3, stage 4 melanoma, big ugly melanoma, it's almost too late, and this is very important that you can detect. So it's very important that you can detect melanoma early. And early melanomas are often small, they're often subtle, very difficult to detect. And in our study, our pivotal study, which was the largest trial ever done within melanoma detection, we found that we could detect melanoma in these very early and very small lesions. You know, a third of the lesions in our study were small, and almost all of them were early. And that's the strength, I think, of our product, is that it's there to detect small and early melanoma. And that is when you detect it early, you can treat it well. And that's what I think Matt Levitt, for example, sees as the value of our product, one of the key values of our product. So early detection of melanoma is really, really key. And it separates us from you see a lot of companies coming with products, but in the end of the day, you have to be able to detect these early melanomas. DermTech is our competitor again. They can only detect melanomas down to a size of 5 millimeters or greater, and this limits the scope of their ability to work with this early detection on small lesions. Clinical utility. What's the utility we provide to our customers? Well, we have done a series of studies in the US, over 600 clinicians, 20,000 evaluations, and what we see is that we can help everyone get better at detecting melanoma. Okay, so the sensitivity increases by an average of 20%. It means fewer missed melanomas. And you can see on the right, there is a significant decrease from 7% to actually less than 1% of missed melanomas in the study. And I think there's another really important point, and that point is that clinicians have different levels of experience. And what we do is we help everyone, but we help the ones that are least experienced the most. And there's a general equalization of results because we have an objective result. We lift everyone to a similar level. And I think this is one of the key advantages, especially when you look at the US. The US and Europe are different. US, the focus is very, very much on quality of care, never missing a melanoma. And I think, in Europe, and cost is less of an issue because the insurance system handles it. In Europe, it's a combination. It's about accuracy, but it's also about lowering costs for the hospital and for the healthcare system. And we have shown that we can reduce the number of unnecessary excisions by about 35 to 40%. So that's our benefit there. Germany is our key market, has been our key market until now. We focus on Germany and the US. We have about 270 clinics today. We've done, as I said, about more than 120,000 patients in Germany. And I was recently watching a presentation by a key opinion leader in Germany, and their view was that now Nevisense is becoming a standard in Germany, and I think that's great. There are many clinics in Germany. We have 275, but these are 275 of the larger clinics, the clinics that are our target group. We're still the only approved product available for melanoma detection in Germany, and we have guideline support. We have good reimbursement. And the introduction of non-melanoma skin cancer, a few months ago, has gone well. We have about 75 customers who have been upgraded, and we have sold a number of systems. And this is exactly what we want to do. We wanted to add the capability for non-melanoma skin cancer to melanoma, so that the clinician can do two things with the same device. And this is a software upgrade that is being rolled out across Germany now. So good progress in Germany. US has been really a focus, and there we partnered very much with Advanced Dermatology. As I said, Advanced Dermatology has about 155 clinics, many of them in Florida, and so Florida has been our focus. And there, as I said, we've been working with Medicare, the local Medicare organization, to get coverage. And so far that coverage, we have been getting covered from Medicare, and we're working with Medicare to get that level, and ADCS to get that level up to where we want it to be. So we also, we worked with ADCS in a pilot stage where we did about 22 clinics, and we worked together to introduce the product, and it's gone well. And just this last weekend, I was talking to the management group of ADCS, and they're happy, and we're moving on to this next commercial phase. So that's great news in the US, and a lot happening, and we're really focusing on expanding the team and putting more resources into the US, and we will be talking a lot about US in the future. The market size is Germany. I mean, if we just look at the private insurance market in Germany, we believe it's about 5 million euros. We're at about a million today, so there's some room to grow there. But US is where the potential is, and we see, around in the two states that we're working, or the two areas that we're working, a potential for about 40 million euros a year. And so across the whole US, of course, is much more significant. Quick head-to-head comparison with DermTech. So DermTech is a lab. It's a lab test. So the clinician takes the tape strip and actually removes material from a lesion, sends it to a lab, and gets a result. That's a big difference from ours. Ours, you test and you get the result directly after the test. So it's a much quicker point of care. We can, as I mentioned, we can do these smaller lesions down to 2 millimeters. That's a big difference, and also our reimbursement is directly to the dermatologist. There's no direct reimbursement from DermTech to the dermatologist. Their reimbursement goes to the lab. So we think that these are really important differences. And then there's one final difference, and that is that the cost. I mean, our electrode is $70, and you can do up to 20 lesions, whereas DermTech is a $700 test. So there are some big differences there. But I show this slide because just to illustrate that this is DermTech's value as a company, and you can see their value has risen dramatically. They're over 800 million in valuation now. And what has been the driver for this valuation? The driver for the valuation has been reimbursement decisions, smaller reimbursement decisions. None of them are national, but these decisions, I think, show the potential for the product and for the future for this type of test. So there's a need for this type of test. We think we have a better test, but really interesting to see that progression. We've achieved a lot in the last year and a half. I mean, we launched Nevisense 3, Nevisense 3 was approved last year in May by the FDA, and that was the catalyst for our relationship with ADCS. So we teamed up with ADCS after that. We launched this product at the end of last year, and this is our next generation platform. called Nevisense Go. So this is a handheld version, same business model, same electrode, but this is a handheld version, and it's really a unique special device with inbuilt AI, neural net built in, and EIS built in. So this is really an exciting product for the future, and we're starting with that product within skin barrier. I'll talk about skin barrier a little bit in a second. We received a CPT3 code last year, and that allowed us then to enter the market and work with CMS to get this coverage that we're doing now. And we've had good progress with ADCS, as I said, going from this pilot phase into the commercial phase. We, as a company in Europe, we received Mdr certification. There are very few companies that have this certification. It became mandatory from May of this year, and that allowed us to to launch non-melanoma skin cancer in Europe, and this was a really important step for us. We had 2 publications around skin barrier, one in Nature by a key collaborator of ours, and one in Allergy, showing the value of our method within skin barrier. Skin barrier, very quickly, I don't really have time, but skin barrier is to do with eczema, it's to do with food allergies, asthma, allergic rhinitis. These are atopic diseases. And what we have found is that our method can be used to characterize, predict, and add value in that space where there is no alternative today that can be used clinically. So that's an extremely interesting, exciting potential. We're working with industry partners, and I really hope that we can announce something substantial there. We've made our first major sale or significant sale to an industrial partner in the last quarter or so. We also closed 2 share issues, 2 directed share issues, and we have a couple of new specialist investors, which I think has been a really good step forward for the company. So in summary, I mean, we have, last slide, I'm almost done. We have these triggers. We have Medicare, Florida, and Florida is just the first step, because then it becomes the Northeast, and we work our way across the US to get this coverage. First Medicare, and then private payers. But we're very focused on Florida first. We have non-melanoma skin cancer, obviously, that is going to drive value and growth. Number 2, we have a peer that gives us an indication of the value that is seen in this space. And I think that we believe we have a better product. And once we get coverage in place, we think we see real advantages rolling out. And it's a major focus for us now is the US. The rollout, we're working with ADCS, and we will work with other groups similar to ADCS to roll out the product. And we think working with these groups is a good strategy. So, and these products like non-melanoma skin cancer, like Nevisense Go and skin barrier, I think are going to continue to drive our growth going forward. And again, our goal is to become a standard of care within both skin cancer and also within skin barrier. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Simon, for a very interesting presentation, obviously. You didn't have so much time to spend on the skin barrier,
yeah.
So I'll give you some time now. You mentioned the recently published study in Allergy, the journal, and that indicates a potential for skin barrier assessments with your EIS system. Please elaborate on this and the new barrier indication.
Yeah, it's a little bit, can take a little bit of time to explain, but I can give you an example of one application, and that is what we know from is that children, when they're born, you can very soon after they're born, you can figure out which ones are going to get eczema. And there's something called the atopic train, which means the ones that get eczema, they go on to get food allergies, and they go on to get suffer from allergic rhinitis and asthma. So being able to intercept these children and treat them is extremely important, and that's one of our key focuses. We are able to characterize the skin barrier in a clinical situation. I think that's the key. And there it's trying to tie it to therapies, getting better, more effective therapies, better follow-up. And so that's why our strategy there is to work together with partners, industrial partners, because this is something that can help them with their products. And there's a lot of new drugs coming for atopic dermatitis. And so we see this as being, we know it's further along. This is in a research and clinical development phase, but it's extremely exciting. With a focus for now is on melanoma in the US especially, but this is something that's coming down the pipe. And I think for all of us, it's important to know that, we're not a one-trick pony. We don't just have melanoma, we have these things that are coming, and that the method itself, can be used. We see more and more potential uses for the method, and we're trying to focus on just a few of them first, but there's good potential there.
Thank you. I also have a question from the audience. Have you set any future sales target? I mean, internally, or communicated, not communicated?
No, we haven't, and we haven't until now. I mean, I think it's been difficult over COVID as well to know what's going to happen. We've recovered from COVID, and we feel good with the growth and the growth potential going forward. But for now, we haven't done that.
I see. It was quite impressive to see that Matt Levitt, the founder of ADCS, the largest dermatology clinical chain in the US, joined your board, invested some money. Why? Why would he do that?
Matt he's a businessman, but he's a dermatologist, and he is a scientist, and he looked at our data. We have great data. We have 60 publications. We've done the largest trial of our kind in the world. He looked at the data and he said, this is something that can help my clinicians in my to do better medicine. And not just that, but to detect early is a focus for ADCS, early detection of melanoma. And here's a tool. It's hard to do this without tools. You need a lot of experience. And he saw this as a way to lift the quality that he's going to get out of all of his clinics, and also to differentiate himself against the other chains and the other clinics out there. So, but, Matt said once, he said, he wants to bring the science back into dermatology. And that's maybe a bit tough, but that's kind of how it is a little bit, because it's very subjective today. It depends on lots of things, and especially experience and so on. But so they need objective tools. And Matt saw this as a way to use an objective tool to both have commercial benefits, but primarily to improve the clinical outcomes from his clinics and from his clinicians.
In my view, that's a really heavy validation.
Absolutely. Matt's having Matt on the board is fantastic. He brings really a US perspective. He knows the market extremely well. He knows what's important, and he's and the fact that we are working with ADCS, even though he's no longer CEO of ADCS, he knows that organization very well, and he knows what clinicians want and need to see, and so that's why we're expanding now. We are really putting a lot of effort into expanding the team and driving spreading through the US. So it's going to be an interesting next 12 months.
No doubt. And just a final question to round off the Q&A. Obviously, it's going to be about the US reimbursement.
Yes.
Looking at the DermTech stock chart, definitely like Viagra for any investor. So what would be your strongest arguments that you're going to get this reimbursement?
We have had good response so far. We have been applying for our customers, I should say, have been putting in claims. This is the way the system works in the US. They've been putting in claims for over a year. They have been submitting, and not all the claims are granted, but even before we have approval, most of them are getting paid, and that's great, and it's being paid at a good level. So why do I think there is a need, there is good data. I think that's important. You have to have good clinical data behind the product. We have a PMA, which is the highest level of clinical evidence for a product. And we have and we're trying to roll this out in a responsible way and be, integrated into the clinic, show it can work. And so I see all of these components, and the fact that we believe that we can save money by doing the right biopsies is important, and I think that is why so far we've had a good response from Medicare, and we expect that we will continue to have a good response from Medicare. So we're very positive.
Thank you very much, Simon, and good luck.
Thank you.